Hey party people, today we're going to talk about the difference between a wedding planner versus an event manager, month of, wedding coordinator, and your venue coordinator. There are very big distinctions between these different role players who are all very important, and I want to break it all down for you right now. Let me start first by talking about your venue coordinator. The very important role that they play is to be in charge of the venue where you're hosting your wedding. They're in charge of everything that happens in the four walls of that space. They really don't care about what's happening with your hair and makeup schedule or your transportation. They're not there to support you in that way. They have other responsibilities in hand that are really, really big ones, but to be honest, they are not really the best person for you to go to with these month of coordination type questions. They're not going to write your timeline for you. They might give you a structure to work off of for what the reception should be or what the ceremony timing might look like on your wedding invitation, but they are definitely not writing something that's going to run from start to finish for the full run of show for the day. That's not their responsibility. You might come across somebody that's really, really nice and wants to help you out here, but really these people who are selling you the venue space, they're there to support you in booking the venue itself. And if you do have on-site catering at your selected venue, they're going to be in charge of the catering aspects as well. But beyond that, you can't really rely on these individuals to go over anything in great detail with you that relates to anything else about your event day, especially the very important drafting of your timeline or your production schedule, which is really going to dictate the run of show for the day. They do play very important roles, and they help support us as wedding planners and event coordinators in outlining all of the do's and don'ts for the actual venue space. So they tend to work in tandem with the other parties that I'm going to discuss with you right now. What is the difference then between a day of or month of coordinator and an event manager? Two very important distinctions here. Your month of coordinator is somebody that you hire during the planning process. It might be 6 months out or 9 months out or even a year or more. This is somebody that's going to confirm with all of your vendors the week of your wedding. They're going to write a timeline. They're going to run your rehearsal of your ceremony. They're going to be there the day of to run through everything, make sure it's set up, take down at the end of the night, deliver all your stuff to your hotel. This is a very important role. However, big distinction between a month of coordinator versus an event manager is that your coordinators, they won't talk to you or consult with you or answer any questions that you might have until their contracted time frame. Now, some people do have a contract with a month of coordinator that starts a little bit before that month of. That might start actually at 6 weeks out from the date. So you have 6 entire weeks to talk to them, give them your contracts, ask them for advice. And by then you should pretty much have everything planned. And that's really the intention, is that you've planned everything on your own and you're sharing this information with your month of coordinator to get you across the finish line for the wedding day. Now, we've talked about in another video, which I will link right here for you, why true day of does not actually exist. You can't hire somebody just to show up on the day of your event, but a day of coordinator might actually start talking to you at 30 days out, getting all of your contracts, writing your timeline, confirming with your vendors, and then running the day of show. That is where that communication timeframe starts, so that they can strictly construe that timeline to all of the things that you've booked on your own, all of your contracts, confirm with all of your vendors, and run everything smoothly on the day of the event. The difference between those role players and an event manager is this. An event manager is somebody that you hire to oversee the entire process. They should be offering you advice along the way. You should have access to them as consultants while you're planning the event on your own. So say you're planning your transportation and you have some questions that you just want to run by somebody that has experience in the event world that can give you advice on things to think about that you might not know as you're planning this event on your own. Somebody that can answer your questions, point you in the right direction to set you up for success. The event manager is able to open up that communication to you beyond what a month of coordinator offers a lot of clients in communicating only at 6 weeks out or a month out. Your event manager should be available to you from the time you sign the contract with them as a service provider. It's an additional value that you're getting by hiring an event manager instead of a coordinator, because having that access to consulting advice throughout the planning process is really very valuable and important to you while you're planning your own event, just to have a sounding board to somebody to ask questions to and say, hey, I was thinking about this. Does this make sense? What's industry standard here? What advice would you give me? What do you think I should do? It gives that event manager an opportunity to get to know a little bit about your thoughts thought process as you're planning the event. Understand what your event goals are and make notes so that they can refer back to them as you get closer to the date itself. But also they can say, you know, I've had clients that tried to do this in the past and it really didn't end up quite as good as they thought it was. Here's what I would recommend. You have the value of experienced professionals when you hire an event manager to give you expertise that they have gleaned from years of experience in the same position that you're trying to achieve. By hiring them in this role, they can extend that knowledge and expertise to you by saying, this is something that we've seen in the past and it didn't work quite right. This is what I think you should do instead. That is where you're going to save a lot of money. Let me say that again. You have valuable information that you're being given by your event manager on mistakes other people have made in the past. And they're extending that information to you so that you can save money by making the right decisions and hiring vendors for the correct time frame, or consider all of the logistics in the front end rather than try and save yourself on the back end, which can be costly. You are actually going to appreciate a savings both in time and in money when you're able to talk about these things with your event manager as you're booking the vendor. That is really what the value add is in an event manager, and you have access to that person from the time you sign up with them. If you hire an event manager at 9 months out, you can start talking to them and getting consulting advice from them from day one. What we do in our company is we like to set up touch point meetings or phone calls, usually about once a month, but definitely we'll be checking in over our project management system or through email or phone call and say, hey, we just wanted to see how you're doing. Is there anything we can help you with? The fact that we're there and extending ourselves to our clients has been really, really helpful, more so than when we're just offering month of coordination, which was also helpful in and of itself, but it gave a lot of frustration that we weren't able to talk to our clients until 30 days out, and our clients couldn't talk to us either. We wanted to break down the wall between our ability to communicate with our clients in advance when they were booking these things and be able to point them in the right direction and give them advice on things that we knew we could plan in our sleep or that we've seen and done before. And it's so much easier to be able to advise our clients earlier on in the process over a quick phone call or quick email or even on a touch point meeting once a month and go over some details that they might be struggling with that are very, very easy for us to answer because we have experience and we know how to problem solve. The value add in having an event manager versus having a coordinator is really tremendous in adding that communication throughout the planning process for you. So that's been really, really helpful. What is the difference between an event manager and a wedding planner? A wedding planner is somebody that is there to help you from the very beginning to the very, very end, and usually has their hands in every single aspect of the planning process. Now, that's not to say that mom or our brides or grooms, whoever is the main decision maker in the planning process, that's not to say that they also aren't actively involved in the planning. I find two types of clients that come to us seeking wedding planning services from start to finish. They fall in one of two categories. The first being someone that really is a very decisive person. They're good at decision making when you give them A and B and you say, these are the pros and cons to each. Which would you choose? And they say, I like A or I like B. And they're really, really busy in their real life. Remember, real life doesn't stop just because you're engaged. You still have work responsibilities, other commitments. Maybe you're moving cities or you're buying a house. Real life just doesn't stop because you're engaged. So for those people that find that their real life, their day-to-day life has a lot going on, and while the wedding is important to them, they just don't have the time in the day to devote to the 450 some odd hours of planning that go into an event like this, they outsource that work to a wedding planner. What a wedding planner does is offers options of A and B to really decisive decision makers that say, I like A or I like B. That's one type of person. The other type of person is somebody that is generally much more involved in the weighing of the pros and cons and articulating the desires of what it is that they'd like to see happen. They don't just expect to show up on the wedding day and everything's made for them. They do have a lot more back and forth. A lot of times, mothers of the bride or groom, fathers of the groom, we've worked with quite a bit before too. These sorts of folks have a lot of opinions about things, but want a wedding planner to give them advice and guidance on all the things that they just don't know, because for for the most part, those that are planning a wedding, even if they might have done it before for themselves or for a sibling, for every single event that we're working on, we're finding that a lot of our planning partners, our clients, are those that are generally novice in the wedding space. They just haven't done it as much as we have. We do it all the time for years and years and years. So we've literally seen it all. So the second type of personality that we're often dealing with that hire a wedding planner are those that really want to be involved in the process from start to finish, but want someone that they can know and trust to ask lots and lots of questions that are very, very detailed in nature, and also outsource that person to do the lion's share of the negotiating on the contracts, on the design work, on all of the expectations of organizing the meetings and the details, so many details, all of this, so that way they can rest assured that they're going into this with their eyes wide open, fully educated. And at the end of the day, let's be real here, everybody is still acting in the role of the host or hostess and the guest of honor. So it's very difficult to be able to show up seamlessly, effortlessly, dressed perfect, not a single hair out of place, into a space, and then also be the taskmaster that's made sure load-in has happened, everybody showed up on time, what about this, oh my gosh, this broke, somebody forgot to deliver the one essential piece of X, Y, and Z, and they had to reroute it. I mean, all of these things that happen on an event, we get to do on behalf of our clients so that they can show up and effortlessly enjoy the event itself. Wedding planning, I would say, when we are in that role from start to finish with our clients, we are super detailed in everything that we do, and we take the lion's share of the work off of our clients' plates with varying levels of involvement for each of our clients, depending on their planning style. I anticipate spending at least 450 hours collectively between myself and my team on a full service wedding that we do from start to finish. 450 hours. That's a lot of time. That's why I'm employed. It's a full-time job what we do. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces in play, many, many family dynamics that we have to consider, and also all of the things that go into making a production. We're putting something up and taking it down over the course of 48 hours or less. That's a really big deal. 450 hours roughly. Some events are more involved than that. All in, what we do is very, very detailed. On the event management side, what I had talked about was we come in and we're advisors and counselors to our clients from start to finish. As soon as they sign up with us, we aren't necessarily as involved on the contract negotiation part of the process, definitely not dealing with design like we are with our full planning services. That averages out to be about 70-ish, 75 hours, depending on the level of production for that event and how much advice that we have to give along the way. Minimum 70 to 75 hours for an event management contract. Then a day of and month of person, of course, their hours might vary, but because they're not also giving you that consulting advice along the way, you're looking at in the range of 20 to 30 hours, give or take, for a coordination service level. So that's the breakdown and the difference mainly in those roles. And most essentially, a venue coordinator, if you take away anything from this video, I want you to understand that your venue coordinator is also a very essential part of the planning process, but they do not do the same thing that a month of coordinator, event manager, or a wedding planner do. Their role is solely within the four walls and the confines of the venue that you have booked for your event, and that's a huge responsibility. And oftentimes, depending on if there's catering involved, they're also really heavily involved in the food service part of that. That's a tremendous amount of work. That's a critical role, but very different from the one that your month of coordinator has or your event manager has too. All right, guys, if you have comments or questions about what I've just talked about, please leave them down below in the comments section. I read everything and I'm going to respond as well. And if there's anything else that you'd like to see more of, please let me know. Also, write down in the comment section things that you have questions about in the planning process, things that you want to know or you've been wondering about, or if you just think I'm plain wrong, I welcome that too. It will definitely help me to round out the discourse here, to appreciate different sides of everything. So I'm an open book. I love sharing with you and I would love for you to share with me. Leave a comment down below. Like the video here if you appreciate what I've been putting out for you and the content. And if you want to subscribe and keep up with all of our new videos, be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to this page. All right, guys, until next time, have a good one.